Hello and welcome to Swords and Sapphics, a podcast about all things queer and feminine and representation, and it may include sharp objects. We have a very special episode today because if you've been following us on social media, you'll know that we are hosting a 12-day event called the 12 Days of Queermas, where every day we bring you a new article or interview on our website and also maybe a guest episode. So we have 4 guest episodes planned, and this is our first one where we will soon talk to Lizzie Huxley-Jones, who is the author of Make You Mine ThisChristmas. And we'll talk about that a little bit soon. But for now...
So this is day 3 of our Queermas, and we already have out on our website day 1 with Chelsea Bennington and her article Biphobia in Media. And then we also have article by Eliza Linsky, article called A Made-for-TV Queermas. So check that out on swordsandsapphics.com.
Yep. And there is still maths. 9 more exciting things coming your way this Queermas. So keep an eye out on what's coming next. We're very excited.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Okay, before we get into talking to Lizzie, what for you, Ivy, is Christmas? What makes you feel most Christmassy?
You know what? It's Christmas candles and very much so Christmas gifts and Christmas lights. And gifts. I have to say gifts. Like, I'd like to say all that, like, oh, family and time with friends, but it's gifts. And I love shopping for people. I love gifting them things, and I love receiving things. And I already by this time got one gift that I really love, and it was by you. And it was by Wanda on a t-shirt. And yes, I will brag about it because it's fantastic.
I'm very glad you like it. First of all, we need to say the t-shirt also says I support women's wrongs, which is perfect for our podcast, so I'm sure you'll see it again soon.
Yeah, I have to watch it, but then you know what, I don't think I'll take it down for a while. When I got my Wanda t-shirt from Ifka from my friend for birthday, I wore it and washed it so much that the pictures started coming up.
Yeah.
So I apologize. You will hear my dog doing a bunch of shit here because that's who she is.
Yeah.
That's her wrongs that I do not support.
Yeah, well, she has some things going on. She has some things to say.
Always. So what about you?
Okay. If I could sum Christmas up into one moment of my life, it is just having the Christmas tree lights on, putting either Christmas songs on or a Christmas movie. It doesn't matter what one. It can be cheesy as fuck and terrible. And getting the wrapping paper out, piling up all the presents I bought, and just wrapping them for hours and hours. Like, if I could stay in any moment, it would be that one. Like, that's Christmas for me. Not because of the presents or anything, just because of the vibes. Like, I feel like I have to romanticize these parts of my life to keep Christmas alive in my heart because we're getting old, lads. It's not the way it used to be. Father Christmas hasn't been down my chimney for a while.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
You know what? I feel like I had this one moment like 2 years ago. It was the first Christmas that I lived on my own. Back then, I had my first dog, and I put on Lindsay Sterling Christmas album, and I lit on a candle, and I was watching Klaus on Netflix, and I honestly believe that was the first time in my life where for like a few minutes I just felt completely content. Like just quiet and just so happy. I have never felt this way since or before. And it
Yeah.
was fantastic. It was phenomenal.
I had a similar moment. I was reading on the couch with the Christmas lights on. Enzo was curled up at my feet, my dog, and I was reading Sense and Sensibility, and it was just so cozy and peaceful. Like, there's something very magical about the part afterwards where everything like
Mm.
stops and you can just like be there and just enjoy
Mhm.
like the atmosphere but without the busyness, because like
Yeah.
you can do all the Christmas activities in the world, but it's so stressful and busy and tiring at the end of the day.
Mm.
And it's just, there's just something very magical about being at peace at Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ivy, you're from Czech. And I have been told many a time now that your traditions are very different from mine. And every year I act surprised that you have
Yes.
Christmas on Christmas Eve, the 24th, and you
Yeah.
don't have like my traditional Christmas dinner. So please tell us about your traditions.
So, as you said, we have our Christmas day is on 24th. Our we usually have dinner, and after that, it's there's supposed to be like a little ring, and that means we don't have like our Santa Claus or our Father Christmas. We have Ježíšek, basically the same guy, just different name.
Mm-hmm.
And so like he's supposed to ring, and then the kids go to the living room or wherever the Christmas tree is, and there are gifts. I remember we used to when we were kids, we were in the kitchen, and so we had a kitchen, then we had like the rest of the apartment, and the living room was at the end. And every time we were surprised that like Ježíšek rang on the time where our father went to toilet, and it never really clicked. So every time he like went on a toilet, and then there was the ring, and we had to wait for our dad to come back. So for Christmas dinner, we have potato salad, baked carp,
Mm.
and before that, we also have like fish soup. And it used to be more often, but it still is a thing where you buy the living carp, you have it in your bathtub for a few days, and then you kill it on the Christmas day, and you make the soup and prepare the baked carp. We used to have that. Our dad used to like he's a fisherman. He fishes sometimes. So that was traumatic part of Christmas.
Mm.
There was a living fish in our bathtub that was massacred.
Yeah,
Um,
I would never think of dead fish as synonymous with Christmas, so that's very interesting.
yeah. So also the tradition is to put it under the plates, which means that you're gonna have luck and money. And after Christmas dinner, you're supposed to put the scales into your wallet to gain more money throughout the year.
Okay. Mm.
Then
Fishy
we have
wallet.
gifts, and yeah. You know what? At this point in my life, I have no cash in my wallet but fish scales. Because each year I just throw at every Christmas dinner, I just throw the fish scales into my wallet and I go with my life, and there's no cash ever because I'm full on credit card. I don't get any money anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You heard it here first. Ivy has a fishy wallet.
Yeah. That's all I have. Try to steal from me, all you get is fish scales. That's all.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then we open Christmas, and also on each Christmas evening there is this very national fairy tale, Three Nuts for Cinderella, basically in translation. It's our national thing. And it's every Christmas day, and just the sounds just the music makes me so nostalgic, and I love it, and I still want to show you, but you don't know Czech, and it's pissing me off. Yeah.
Apologies.
Yeah.
Do you guys have pantomimes? Because pantomimes are a big thing here.
No. No.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Sometimes, like for example, I'm not really sure how that's a big thing, but it is a thing to go visit graves of your family on the Christmas day, and my dad goes every year, so sometimes I go with him just to put a little Christmas tree on the graves, and just to pay respects.
Oh yeah, that's a lot different
Yeah.
than a pantomime.
Yeah, yeah. A little,
If you
yeah.
say she's behind you at a graveyard, you might not get the nice caricature type
Yeah.
of bubbly man dressed as a woman. There.
Yeah, no.
It might be a
No.
ghosty.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
And yeah. Only 25th is a bank holiday, and then we're back to work, which is sad.
Yeah, it's never good. Okay, then let's get into Make You Mine This Christmas by Lizzie Huxley-Jones. It is a sapphic rom-com where Hav coincidentally meets a man named Christopher at a house party that she didn't even really want to be at. And they shared a cheeky kiss and quickly realized it wasn't great. It wasn't meant to be. However, Christopher needs a date for the holidays. Hav needs somewhere to go for the holidays because her parents are going on holiday.
A lot of holiday, yeah, but we get it. We're feeling it.
So they decide to fake date for the sake of Christopher's family because he's had a recent breakup. So it has all that fake dating goodness. However, Hav meets a stranger in the train station. They have a very Carol-esque moment in the bookshop. They flirt, and lo and behold, the stranger is Christopher's sister.
Yeah. Yes.
And so naturally chaos ensues. But you will have to read it to find out more. But it is sapphic, and my favorite part about it was that twist on the fake dating trope, because you kind of, even though you know it's going to be sapphic, it's still interesting to read the way that it goes from a fake dating with a platonic friend to falling in love with his sister. It's very chaotic. It's very, for me, it had all the humor of like Love Actually and other Richard Curtis films. Like Christopher was a very like Hugh Grant-esque character for me, like very awkward and fumbling through his life in a very funny sort of way. But yeah, Ivy, what did you love most about this book?
A lot of things. It was very light and funny. I was listening to the audiobook, which was really fun. And honestly, like I eat up anything suffix.
Yeah.
So I don't think I can pinpoint like one thing. I really enjoyed it as a whole thing. And I can honestly say like this year I read not so many. I read 3 holiday romances, but that's a lot for me. I enjoyed it very much. It was very funny.
It does feel like we're in a little sapphic Christmas romance renaissance at the minute, and it's very beautiful to see. Like, there was In the Event of Love by Courtney Kay, and another book by yours truly that may or may have not come out recently, Honeymoon for One. You know what? You have to see the correlation between like the release of Happiest Season last year and this sudden emergence of just very funny, very light-hearted, very joyful books this year. It's kind of like everyone wrote their own fix-it fix, which
and I can't really blame them. Yeah.
And it's very beautiful. But I would definitely recommend this book. It made me laugh out loud. Like it's very dry humor. It's very hilarious humor. There are so many memorable moments that I can't tell you about because you need to experience it for yourself. And
I really enjoyed that you were reading this book. We were reading on FaceTime and you were reading this laughing out loud. And I believe I was reading the serial killer books at that point. So I had a girlie just like castrating men, and she was here laughing at a sapphic Christmas book. So just and that really does sum it up.
I also read it a lot in the bath, so naturally when I got out, everyone was like, "What were you laughing at in the bath?" And I was like, "Nothing strange, just this book." We talk about it with Lizzie, but there's a lot of disability rep in there. There's a non-binary best friend. The main character is fat, and it's portrayed on the book cover like even just
Mhm.
looking at the book cover, it's so fucking special. The love interest has a cane. She has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. There are just so many things about this, but all of those diverse qualities, they don't define the book. The book at its heart
Mhm.
is just a really fucking funny book that is romantic and sweet and a little bit steamy in parts. And it's you have to read it. It's a must read.
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, enjoyed this interview with Lizzie. Also, there are spoilers, of course.
We have Lizzie Huxley-Jones, the author of Make You Mine ThisChristmas. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Lizzie Huxley-Jones. I'm an autistic, disabled, non-binary author based in London. I write cozy queer romances for adults and spooky, horrible queer middle grade for children. It's like polar opposites. And Make You Mine This Christmas is my first one. It's out digital only this year, so ebook and audio, and then paperback to follow September 2023. And then like 2 weeks later the sequel will be out in digital. So it's an intense time.
Amazing.
But I guess that's me.
Wonderful. Make You Mine ThisChristmas has our classic fake dating trope. However, there is a little twist with her being falling for his sister. And what inspired this subversion of the usual fake dating trope?
So when I was coming up with the ideas for this book, I actually was working with an editor from the off who my agent was like, I think you two should meet because you are the same person. And we met and we are very similar and just chaotic. And so we were talking through like a couple of ideas and like the tropes we liked. And she really likes fake dating. And I was like, I also want to do something with this, but I can see something different. And I was like, what if it's the sister? What if you fell in love with the wrong person by accident? I really love the intensity that like being stuck in a single house with a load of people can provide in a novel, because it's that you can't escape the person. And I was just thinking, like, what if I just smushed those two ideas together? So then it's, even without it being a novel full of sex scenes, because it's not, it really only has one, even though I'm listed on the erotica category on Amazon, which will never stop being funny. I'm currently #1 in gay, bisexual and lesbian erotica, which is just the non-binary, like that's the way to go. So it just meant that it was kind of like an emotionally tense, sexually tense book. By putting those two things together. And it meant that we got two different types of stakes. Like, I very rarely see fake dating where it's just platonic, but I think that to do that for someone is a kind of act of love that doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. And so that was something I was drawn to as well. I wanted to see if I could tell that kind of love story, the story of falling in love with a friend who they go through a lot of stuff together, but it means that the fake dating then doesn't have the mixed feelings, but it has like this like gentle, like becoming friends and deepening connection, which I really love. I just love Christopher and have a lot. So that was kind of where it came from. Just we literally had a document where we wrote down all the tropes, all the holiday movies we liked, and we're just like, well, what ideas do we like from them? What haven't we seen done in a queer context? How could we use them in a queer context? So yeah, that's basically how I decide every romance book now. Is just like, what haven't I done yet? I've got a big list in my notes folder of all the ones to come, hopefully, but we'll see.
Oh, we can't wait. Yeah. It really gave me the warm and fuzzies. Like, it's kind of a dual love story, because it's not often that you see a friendship so important in a romance book. Like, so was it ever gonna be that Christopher was the one she would fall for, or was it Kit always gonna be there?
it was always going to be Kit. In the original, like, first draft, I tried to write it so that she and Christopher had like a really hot snog, but then like as they got to know each other over like the train ride and like getting to the house, that she was just like, actually no, I think we're just really good friends. But I realized that like I think that would have been trying to do too much, and so I always intended them to be friends. I never wanted it to be a kind of like, which sibling am I going to pick novel, because I really wanted to tell the story of her falling for Kit and trying to talk about sometimes the way that like it's really tricky to know if you're flirting with someone and like if they're flirting back, and so that's why the kiss she has with Christopher in the final version is actually very bad. So I was like, let's just make it clear that these two have a lot of like friendship chemistry, but absolutely no sexual chemistry at all. Like, it's not happening. But yeah, it was really tempting to make it a different kind of story, but I just really wanted him to have a kind of love with her that was different.
There's a diverse cast of characters, so you have a non-binary best friend, plus size main characters, a love interest with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, is that how you say it?
Yeah, Ehlers-Danlos, that's right.
What was your process with like building these characters, because they become so like well-rounded? They're not just there for the diversity points, but they really add something to them as well. What was your process in like building these characters?
Well, first out, I just wanted to build a cast of characters that look like the people in my life. You know, I have a lot of queer and disabled friends. You know, my straight abled friends are like in the minority. And so I just kind of wanted to like write a group of friends that felt real to me and to like my queer friends. Like I really can't stress how much that like I wrote this novel to entertain myself. Like last winter I was like, yeah, I'm just having great fun, let's just have a great time with this book. And so I really wanted characters that felt real and that you could fall in love with, and so like I have quite an intense character design process in that I really try not to write anything until I know who all the characters are. I have like a 30 questionnaire that I fill in usually after the first draft to be like, okay, like how does this person react, are they an optimist, are they a pessimist, you know, what are their tells, what are the words that they tend to use. And also I start right at the beginning with a Pinterest board, so not just like their face claim, but the colors that make me think of them, their job, their favorite things, like, and I build it out until I really can feel like I know who they are. And I tried to do that with all of them except for Mark, because I just didn't want to spend much time in his head.
He
like,
didn't deserve it.
no, I knew exactly who he was because I've met several Marks in my life. So I was like, I don't really need to do anything more with you. Like, I don't think I need to know what his favorite fruit is. So yeah, and then so I tried to do that with all of the characters, and just it really helps me from a craft perspective know how the story will go. I'm a huge planner. I have spreadsheets upon spreadsheets for every single draft, and I know everything about what's happening. And so that, I suppose, is part of it, and it helps me. I have like intermittent memory issues because I have a seizure disorder, so I kind of have to have everything written down so that I don't forget. And so I think the bonus of that is that the characters then come pre-packaged in this very fleshed out way, because I kind of have to make sure that I have all that information in my head and on paper, well, digital paper, so that I can like keep track of them. But also things like I have songs where I'm like, oh yeah, that's Ambrose's song, or that's Kit's song, and so I try to like use that as well to like ground me in all the characters, like the major ones. So I'm in the middle of that process at the moment for the sequel, because I'm 45k into the book, so I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, I know what's definitely happening now. You have to get past the 30,000 words mark where you're just like, oh, everything I've done is terrible, and then you add a few more thousand words and you're like, oh, it actually wasn't terrible, I'm doing it. And so I'm in that process with the side characters at the moment. really refining who they are and how much I know them. I hope that they kind of jump out the page in the same way.
I'm sure they will. Can we ask, is the sequel characters we know, or is it
Yes.
still Half and Kit?
Half and Kit make a cameo and they are sort of in it, but for plot reasons, they're not on the page a lot. But I can tell you it's about Christopher, because I felt like his story didn't end, and I really wanted to keep telling his story. And luckily Hodder were like, sure, let's go for it. So it's about Christopher being stuck in Wales. I am revealing more about what it is. I think on my Instagram on New Year's Eve, I think I've scheduled it in for. So if people enjoy it and want to know where Christopher's heading emotionally and physically, there'll be some hints there. So yeah.
Yay,
Oh,
we're
I'm
excited.
Very excited.
It's really fun, but like he's such a different person to have that like getting into his head was really tricky, because he's just like such a little like he's kind of a little closed off being emotionally. And he's just like the whole stakes of Make You Mine This Christmas are because he doesn't want to face up to his problems or like have a conversation with anyone ever. And unfortunately he's gotten better at it, but he's still not like, it's only been a year, like he's not there yet. So like writing that has been quite fun, but a challenge, because I'm like, here's all of my emotions like right here for you. So I'm like, oh no, he would probably not say that, but it's good fun. I like spending more time with him.
Yeah. Oh, I love Christopher. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to get more of him. Yes.
I can tell you it is still queer. So
Okay.
yeah.
Because he had that amazing kind of like confession with Hav where they kind of both realize they're on the same page with the sexuality, and it was kind of unexpected, because he does come across as like the typical, like, I would say Hugh Grant style character for me. Like, so it was really like heartwarming to see that he kind of could open up to Hav about his sexuality, and it was, yeah, I really love him very much.
Yeah, like I feel like Make You Mine This Christmas is kind of like he was starting to find confidence in like telling one person, and like in the sequel I want to kind of explore, once you've come out, I mean you never stop coming out, but like once you've come out, like how do you find like confidence in that? So we'll see. So it's not quite a coming out story, but it's like a getting used to things story, I guess.
Coming of queer.
yeah.
You also mentioned that Hav is autistic, although she's not. It isn't mentioned in the book. You kind of went into the acknowledgements and wrote about that. Did that impact her story, do you think? Was she always going to be autistic? And how do you think that made her character more diverse and interesting and vibrant? Because she is all those things.
So it's really interesting, because I always intended for Kit to have Ellistan loss, because I really wanted to tell a story where the love interest just happened to be disabled, and that is just normal. So for those listening, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is a collagen disorder. Collagen is in every single tissue in your body, and our collagen is like too stretchy and wonky, so it means that your joints slip out of place or dislocate all the time. A lot of us have like migraines and like gastrointestinal issues and all sorts of fun stuff, but it's a weird tricky disorder. For Hav, when I started writing her, I was like, I never was like, okay, I'm writing about an autistic girl. Whereas in my middle grade, I was like, okay, I'm specifically writing about an autistic girl and an autistic story. But with Hav, I was kind of drawing on some feelings when I was in my early 20s, and I was really trying to like keep a lid on my life, like trying to make everything work and not really having good instincts about what I needed or what I wanted. And a big part of that was because I didn't know I was autistic yet. Like I didn't find out I was autistic until I was like 26, maybe 27. And so a lot of my early 20s was just like total chaos. Like, I know people joke about like adulting, but I really was like, oh my God, how do I do this? I don't know how to do it. Work is so hard. Everyone's expecting all these different things of me, and I think I'm failing it at every step. And so when I started writing Hab, I realized what I'd written was someone who was on the edge of burnout, and like specifically autistic burnout. Like, she was not able to function outside her job, and that's something that I have been through when I was in the working world. And so it was kind of, as I got to knew her and wrote her, I was like, oh no, she is autistic, but she just doesn't know, because it was she's not me, and she's not me age then either, but that sensation of being overwhelmed and not really being able to trust your own instincts, that really did come from a time in my life. And I think that really is something that a lot of autistic people who are still masked and don't know they're autistic really struggle with. And so when I was writing it, a lot of the things that she went through, and like the bad decisions she makes or the rash decisions she makes, kind of were part of that. She has such an unsteady sense of like her own inner compass that like she doesn't know what is a good decision for her. And so it wasn't an original intention when I first outlined the book, but it was like I kind of realized what I was doing like a few chapters into it. I was like, oh, okay, no, I have written it. And I think, to be honest, I find it really hard to write a POV character who isn't probably a bit autistic, because I'm constantly writing about like what they smell, like how they're like fiddling. And so I think that, like, for instance, with Christopher in the sequel, people will be like, oh, I didn't realize Christopher was autistic in the first one. And it's like, oh no. It's like, I think the way I perceive the world bleeds in a little bit with all the POV characters. So that's why I put the author note at the end, was kind of to say like what she's experiencing, and the fact that it doesn't say she's autistic doesn't make it a not autistic book, because just because she doesn't know. And you know, some people might disagree with that and say that it doesn't count as representation, which is fine, like, okay. But I think for me it was like a kind of story that I hadn't really seen much of. Like, I see some books where I'll read it and I'll be like, this is kind of autistic, but I don't know anything about the author or the author's intentions. But I hadn't seen one where you get to the end and then the author's like, oh, actually, they're definitely autistic. So that's why I wanted to just add it at the end.
You also, on your website, recommend lots of books centered around autism and autistic character. How do books like this impact you as a reader? And did you have a similar experience while writing them?
So as a reader, like, books with autism were really important to me. So when I first got the inkling that I might be autistic, I did a very autistic thing and bought every book I could find on autism and read it, and was like, this does sound rather familiar. But I kept finding in fiction that, like, I was reading characters where I was like, yeah, I kind of get this. And because it was the first representation I'd seen, I was like excited about it. But then as I started reading books by actual autistic people writing autistic characters, I was like, oh no, this hits different. Like, you know, these other ones were really missing something, or they kind of like got the surface level, but not like the actual deep stuff. And so, like, the reason I have the list on the website is kind of to not be like, these are Hux approved, but kind of just to like be like, these are ones I've really liked. And I have a mix of books where it's like, these are by autistic people and these are about autistic people, and I will say if they are both, if I know they're both, because obviously, like, no author has to out themselves if they don't want to. And so I'm really bad at updating it, though. I keep saying to people, oh, I need to update it this Christmas. I'm like, oh no, it's not going to happen for another few months. And so as a writer, I suppose it makes me more conscious about what stories have been told. I was quite diligent about reading all representation that I could find that was traditionally published to start with, because I kind of wanted to see what was in the like traditionally published market to start with, and then I read a lot of self-pub as well. So for me, it's like I love reading stories about autistic people. Like even if the story is not for me, I'll still be like, like look at them, that's nice. And so I guess like as a writer, that did kind of inform what I was doing, because I was thinking about those other books that I'd seen. You know, I never want to replicate what's been done already and what might have been done better. So when I was writing, I also was just thinking about the things that when I realized that she was autistic, how that would play into like these typical rom-com scenarios, like just things that like it was a lot of small stuff. I see her as like probably would be dual diagnosis, autistic and dyspraxia. So like there's a bit where I think it's still in the book. Oh my god, my editing brain is gone. But I think there's a bit in the book where like her shoelace is undone and Christopher like helps her do her shoes up. And that's because my partner always has to do my shoes up because I can't tie knots at all. Like, and part of that is like Ehlers-Danlos, like my fingers are so floppy, like I can't like I don't have the strength. I can do like boat knots. Like I used to be a research diver. I used to work on boats. I can do a boat knot fine, but like tying my own shoes, I'm just like I think it's like the different perspective. It just absolutely boggles my brain. So my partner always has to do that. So it's things like that, and like it just like was nice to then put that in there to be like, oh, I don't think I've ever seen that. That would be cute, and that would be like a fun, because they use that as like a like, oh, they trying to get away from Sally, I think at that point, or they just notice her. And so I was just like, oh, let's put a little sprinkling in there. And I was like, some people will be like, why can't she tie her own shoes? But I was like, the people who get it will get it and will be like happy to see that. So yeah.
There are lots of hilarious moments in the book as well. Which was the most entertaining for you to write, if any?
Oh my god. So like really I was just like making myself laugh. I didn't this is gonna sound so stupid. I didn't realize it was a funny book until people started reading it. And now I make the joke all the time to my partner. I'm like, I'm professionally funny, I think you'll find, if he doesn't find any of my jokes funny. So like yeah, it was just like anything that made me laugh I would put in, and like God bless my editor, she'd cut some of it out because I would just be like, just cut out some of it. Like there were more Paddington 2 references in there at one point. There's already a lot in there, but there was more. And I really liked writing the baby reindeer chase.
That was my
I had to edit that. I had to edit that quite a bit because I was also writing my middle grade at the same time, and like editing that, and at one point it was like, this is a children's book. Like it's too silly, but I refined it a bit and like made like tables flying everywhere, and I think it kind of works. I really loved writing that because I was just like, this is what I'm gonna do. She's gonna chase a baby reindeer and fight a goose, and I'm gonna put it in a book. And
amazing.
it just amused me. And then I like finished my day, and my partner was like, oh, what did you do? I was like, oh, I wrote a baby reindeer chase and fighting a goose. What did you do? And he's an architect, so he was like, oh, I did this project, a multi-million project. And I was like, great. Well, I wrote, she fought a goose in a duck pond full of poo. So who else is gonna write that into a romance novel? Yeah, and I really loved writing the ball scene. Like when I was pitching it right at the beginning, I always was like, there's going to be a huge ball. I want there to be like a balcony. I want a kiss on the balcony. I want it to be really like magical. So yeah, that was the other one. And no spoilers, but the ending, I really the reunion, I loved writing that bit. The bit I didn't like was writing the third act fight. I was like, this is so hard because they're they're almost happy. And my editor was like, you've got to put some more drama into this. I was like, fine. Just like angrily typing, like crying, listening to Adele, like I'm being dead serious. That is literally what happened. But we got there in the end.
It's Christmas. This is a Christmas episode. So what is your go-to Christmas, either movie, book, or TV show? And did any of them inspire Make You Mine This Christmas?
So yes. In short, I watched a lot of rom-coms and Christmas movies like before writing it because I'm autistic. I love to research. It's like, let's see what is out there. Let's remind myself. I have a Hallmark subscription now. Like I'm deep in it. So like the first point really for this book was The Happiest Season, which I actually really love. I know is very divisive. I think it's a really interesting story. I think as like maybe the one story we currently have, it's like, oh, like it doesn't hit all the points that we want, which is fine. Like I still really love it, but I was like, oh, imagine if she left with Aubrey Plaza. Imagine if she left with Aubrey Plaza. As like everyone on the internet, I think felt. And then like so like it should not surprise anyone that Kit's face claim is Aubrey Plaza. She just is Aubrey Plaza in my head. And then this one isn't technically a Christmas movie, but it is sapphic and underrated and does take place from fall to winter. So I think it should count. But Imagine Me and You, which it's such a great film. Like I only watched it for the first time like 2 years ago, but we tried to do a little nod to it on the cover, so that's why they're holding hands. If you look at the film poster, they're holding hands behind the men's back, and we were like, let's put that on the cover. But I really love that. I think that's a story about two women falling in love, or starting to fall in love at one of their weddings, and the other one is the florist. It's Piper Perabo and Lena Headey, all playing British, and I just think it's really great. Is there a better romance declaration than "You're a wanker, number 9"? I think not. It's unfortunately really hard to find on the internet. I'm very lazy, so I would always rather like just find it on streaming or like pay Apple like £5 so that I can watch it, but it's really, really difficult to find. I had to get it as a secondhand DVD, but I really, really recommend people like seek it out because it's just great. And that always makes me feel like wintry. I'm absolutely hankering to watch it again.
You should. I saw that you used Matthew Good as the face claim for Christopher as well, and that made me very happy.
Yes. Well, yeah, it's because I really love Heck in that film, and I kind of feel like he doesn't really get much to do. And I was like, so when I was watching it, I was like, well, what if he did have a bit more to do? What if he was more involved? And so I think you can see some of him in Christopher, like the same job, although I don't understand finances. And so it was great to write from Hannah's perspective about his job, because she didn't have to understand what his job was. Now I kind of need to find out what his job was, which I've made myself a problem. But yeah, no, he absolutely is in my head. So it's kind of like those two films smushed together, mixed with Dan in Real Life, which is a Steve, what's his name?
Steve Carell,
the guy from The Office. Yes, yeah. And it's all his family stuck in a house, and he's falling in love with his brother's girlfriend. So it's kind of like those three films like stirred up in a big pot.
Amazing. We always talk about what we're watching this week or what we're loving at the minute. Books, TV, film. Is there anything that you want to gush about?
Oh yeah, hang on, let me grab it. Okay, so this is a bit of a mean one because it's not actually out till May next year. But it's Bitterthorn by Kat Dunn. It's a kind of gothic romance retelling of Beauty and the Beast about a country called Blumwald, and every like 50 years the witch comes and she takes an offering, and usually it's a man, but this time a girl who like her life is kind of falling apart, her family don't really have time for her, she offers herself up, and so she finds herself in this strange castle that doesn't make any like logistical sense, and weird things are happening in there, but it's also this like most beautiful kind of enemies to lovers romance. Like there's just this bit that I started crying at where the witch gives her a gift and it's literally a rock because she's into like rocks.
Oh my
But
God.
I was just like imagining this like feral hot lady being like, I brought you a rock. Definitely pre-order it. It's so good. Like, my heart is being ripped out. I've got like 100 pages left and I just don't want it to end.
I think we might have to do an episode on this now.
Yeah, that sounds extremely cute. First I was like, kidnapped by a hot witch, goals.
It's basically like, what if Beauty and the Beast, instead of he turned into a man at the end, what if he was a hot witch the whole time? Like,
that's a life goal. I mean,
exactly. What more do you want?
Yeah,
amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
It's
thank
been
you.
lovely.
This has been really amazing. Yes.
And remember to read Make You Mine This Christmas by Lizzie Huxley-Jones, out now. So that was our third day of Queermas. So who knows what we'll get tomorrow. Keep an eye out on our social media to open tomorrow's door. It's not really a door, but it's a thing. It's an advent calendar, but with 12 days. We have lots more exciting stuff coming up, more guest episodes, more interviews, more articles. And we'll be talking more about our own Christmas traditions and loves and everything seasonal in the meantime. So also let us know what your favorite traditions or media is over the Christmas season, because we want to know. We always want to know.
We want to know everything about you.
We haven't talked about swords in a long time and it really shows.
Yeah. It's been too much of a romance, like in real life, not enough swords. But you know what? Maybe in the new year we might do just that.
Maybe. Who knows what might happen. Yeah. If Christmas isn't your thing, we have lots of exciting things coming up in the new year, stuff we've already recorded. And I just know you're all gonna love it. So don't give up on us yet if you're not into
I had my Christmas at that point. Like
I did.
Also, how did we not talk about it? Exciting thing. We had an interview with Amanda freaking Lovelace, and you can read it on our website right now.
Yep, we interviewed Amanda for our website. She talks about her process, her background, everything like that. And it was a really interesting and exciting thing for us to be able to put out. So thank you again to all the authors and the viewers and the readers and the listeners who are putting time into our little podcast / website / thing. We're really enjoying seeing it grow, and hopefully this time next year it might be even bigger and better and brighter.
God knows that once we take a break, we create a bunch of more content.
Yeah,
that's our idea of break. Also, you can join our Discord when they can find it.
Yes. We have a Discord. It's on our link tree. We need to put it on the website.
Oh, yeah.
By the time this goes out, we'll be on our website. And it's on our Twitter. So just let us know if you want to be part of it. I'll send you the link. But yeah, we're building a little community, or trying to at least. And it's very exciting and fun. And we want everyone. You don't even have to be a sapphic or a sword or a swordy sapphic or a stabby sapphic. You can just be a whole person. We'll allow anything.
That we should print that out on our t-shirts.
And
that should be our motto.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a sapphic or a sword. We welcome you either way.
Okay, well, be sure to tune in for more exciting, fun stuff, Queermasy stuff. And remember, always remember to support women's rights, but most
But-
importantly,
Support women's wrongs.
especially when they go to their friend's parents' house and pretend to be their girlfriend and fall in love with fake boyfriend's sister. That was a lot.
Yes. Ladies, take your boyfriend's sisters. Well, we shall see you later, alligator.
In a while, crocodile.